Brent Rooker was undrafted by professional baseball, entered the draft again years later, and was drafted in the 38th round, a draft round that doesn't even exist anymore. In his short 4-year MLB career, he's played on 4 different teams, has been released, traded, and undervalued. Yet, he was somehow one of baseball's best hitters in 2024, and it seems every fan base wants their team to trade for Rooker.
Right on cue, Brent Rooker gets his 34th home run of the year.
So, how did a player who struggled to hit for a 200 batting average, had only 10 homers over the course of multiple teams and multiple years, emerge into one of baseball's best stars?
That was blasted!
That ball was disintegrated.
It all began for Brent Rooker in high school.
I played 3 sports in high school. I played football, baseball, and basketball. At the same time, there was never a thought that baseball could become a career. Baseball at the time was a way to get to college. There was no pro interest out of high school. There was no kind of possibility of getting drafted like a lot of guys do after my senior year of high school.
Get to high school, I probably wasn't the best player even on my high school team until my senior year.
Throughout high school, Brent set 18 school records while playing football, and he won 2 preseason All-American awards, making him one of the nation's top 150 baseball players. Rooker finished his senior year of high school with a .430 batting average and 9 home runs. He was so good that he planned on getting a scholarship, graduating college, and then going off to law school. While he did declare for the MLB draft, he did end up going undrafted, and took his talents to Mississippi State University. In his first year there, he was a redshirt, meaning he did not play at all for the sake of his own development. After redshirting, he came back in 2015, but he only had 74 total at-bats and wasn't very successful, hitting for .257 with 2 homers. But at the very least, he won the SEC first-year academic honor roll. But his true breakout came a year later in 2016, when he scored a team-leading 54 RBIs and hit 11 home runs to go combined with a .324 batting average.
It's a drive, and it is going, and it is gone. He's got 3 tonight.
Leading his team, the Mississippi Bulldogs, to an SEC championship in that same season. Rooker believed that he was proven and good enough to be professional, so he decided to enter the MLB draft for the second time. And this time, he didn't go undrafted, but out of 40 rounds, he was taken in the 38th round on day 3 to the Minnesota Twins. After being taken so late, he decided not to re-sign, with Twin scout Sean Johnson even saying that they weren't even close to signing him, and Rooker instead vowed that he would improve into becoming a first-rounder.
I tried to figure out, why I wasn't good enough and what I needed to do to become good enough to be able to compete at this level. In my mind, there is a formulated way to beat every pitcher. You just have to figure out what it is.
2017 Brent Rooker was undoubtedly the best hitter in the SEC, whether it was leading all of D1 baseball in OPS with 1,300 or hitting the 5th most homers in the nation, playing himself into becoming one of the best baseball prospects available. His statistics also built him up to claiming the SEC Triple Crown Award after leading in these 3 statistics. He even became the first D1 player since Khalil Green in 2002 to record a total of 20 homers, 75 RBIs, and 30 doubles. He won Collegiate Baseball National Player of the Year and SEC Player of the Year. According to athleticnation.com, Rooker had a .333 batting average against college teams' aces he faced that season. A's fan Jerry Brewer even petitioned for the Oakland A's to take Rooker at pick 6 in the MLB draft. But the real reason that Rooker was so successful was likely his healthy nutrition, because according to Rooker, the first thing he does in the morning when he wakes up is eat food. And it's really easy to do that when Factor exists, a meal service that's able to send over a dozen meals straight to your door with over 35 different options, whether you're in the mood for a protein, calorie smart, or even a keto diet. And it only takes about 2 minutes of your 24-hour day to heat it up. Plus, Factor now offers over 60 add-ons like breakfast, snacks, and beverages to keep you fueled throughout your day. Whether you want a smoothie, juices, or just something small to eat, Factor Meals has it. By subscribing to Factor, not only are you subscribing to a healthier lifestyle, but you're also supporting this YouTube channel. If you're ready to achieve your goals, not only is Factor affordable, but you get 50% off and free shipping on your first Factor box. All you have to do is click the link in the description or scan the QR code using your phone and use code PURELYNOV50 for these amazing benefits. Factor is now my personal go-to food option, so thanks to Factor75 for sponsoring today's video. Use my link to get 50% off and free shipping on your first Factor box. But getting back to Brent Rooker, he was in his third MLB draft, and A's fans hoped that they'd get him early. But in typical A's fashion, they passed on Rooker and took Austin Beck, and once again at pick 33, passed on him taking Kevin Morrell. Both Beck and Morrell never reached the MLB level despite being such high draft picks. As for Brent Rooker on the other hand,
with the 35th selection of the 2017 MLB draft, the Minnesota Twins select Brent Rooker, an outfielder from Mississippi State University in Starkville, Mississippi.
Brent Rooker became a first-round pick 1 year after saying he was going to be one. The same scout who took him a year prior, Sean Johnson, said he had a great year. We thought he was one of the best bats left on the board. We had our fingers crossed. It was 30 picks, but it felt like 7 hours in that room. We're glad he made it. The Twins were hoping to have a disciplined bat for the strike zone based on him walking on base 41 times versus striking out 48 times. But first things first, what was their plan with Rooker? Defensively, they envisioned him playing corner outfield like he did in college, which was questionable because his glove was a weakness in his game. Scouts and fans thought, why not move Rooker to first base? Ultimately, they made a decision on that later on, but first, he needed to make his way up to the system by his bat, so that's exactly what he did.
19 games over. Line shot deep to left. This is trouble.
We're tied.
Yeah, that is out of here.
Shortly after being drafted, he got to work fast, going 4 for 5, hitting his first career homer early on. And he also made it from rookie ball to single A in just a short few months. While those are both considered easier leagues, it was still promising to see him hit for a combined 930 OPS, 281 batting average, and 18 home runs in 228 at-bats. In his next season, competition increased as he went from single A to double A, and a year later in 2019 playing in triple A. But the question still remained, what position was he going to be playing at the MLB level?
Chased by Rooker, and Rooker with a great diving catch on the warning track.
Through AAA, he mainly played as a first baseman, a position the Twins were going to be in need of considering CJ Cron had an expiring deal. However, Rooker was held to only 65 AAA games because of an injury, but when he did play, his bat was electric. So, when it came time for 2020, Brent Rooker made his major league debut with the Twins.
Rooker with his first big league home run, and it's 2-0 Twins.
Yeah, I mean, the nerves building up to the game, I was pretty nervous, obviously, but once the game started and you realize it's the same game you've been playing your whole life, there's just a few more seats and everybody's really good.
In Brent's first few games, he looked like a well-polished player on a good team, until this happened.
His bat, Rooker being attended to right now by the trainers, and he's going to depart.
He went from living his childhood dream of hitting a home run, batting .300, to being placed on the season-ending injured list, all because of a broken wrist, meaning he had to restart and come back the next year performing the way he used to. He didn't make the opening day roster, but his opportunity came later on.
Rooker releases it into the stands.
In July, everyone got a quick sudden flash of how good Rooker was.
The 3-2 pitch swung on a drive in the left center field gap and deep. It's going and it is gone!
That 1 month was a glimpse of his MLB future. Nearly the same thing happened in September of 2021 as well, except slightly lower numbers. Though, the bits of success were not enough to guarantee him a roster spot on the Twins' future roster. If we look at the big picture, his stats were well below the average big leaguer. In fact, he only walked on base 7.6% of the time, whereas he struck out in 32% of plate appearances. The only way he'd be on the opening day roster in 2022 was if he lit up the world in spring training. And spoiler alert, he didn't, and his future with the Twins became in jeopardy. On opening day, April 7th, Brent Rooker was sent to the San Diego Padres along with All-Star Taylor Rogers. But he didn't get very comfortable with them, only playing in 2 games, 7 at-bats, 0 hits, and 4 strikeouts. However, Rooker went to the minor leagues and lit up the world.
2-1 pitch. In the air left field, this one well hit. Way back, it is gone!
When Rooker was in the minor leagues, he found real traction with a .990 OPS and 19 total home runs. Unfortunately, the Padres just had no room for him on the MLB team, but they did see his trade value rising quickly. So, right before the trade deadline, San Diego made a trade with Kansas City.
Line, base hit left field.
Rooker went down and got a slider.
The Royals saw something in him, but gave him only 25 at-bats to prove himself, an opportunity that just wasn't enough. And the Royals unfairly designated Brent Rooker for assignment shortly after the season ended. By this point, he was in his late 20s and time was running out. Despite his phenomenal high school, college, and minor league baseball career, Rooker was standing on his last chance. But finally, an opportunity with the Oakland A's came about, the same team that had just lost 102 games and were on pace to lose even more in 2023. Not to mention, they were arguably the least talented team in MLB. For him to succeed, 3 important things 100% had to happen, starting with step 1, making the opening day roster. To do so, he had to impress the Athletics in spring training. In his first 23 at-bats, he did that.
RBI double Brent Rooker. That's what I'm talking about.
Through the first few games, Brent was leading the team in doubles and had over a 1,000 OPS. While he did cool off later on, this made the Athletics' decision very hard of whether to keep him or not. Out of 26 ball players, on the final day of roster cuts, Brent Rooker was the last player to make the team, meaning he achieved step 1 of 3 steps to revive his career before it even began. Step 2 was to finally hit MLB pitching and put his struggles behind him. According to the Athletics manager, it was emotional for Rooker to hear he made the roster, and it certainly showed in his first month of play.
And Rooker hits this one hard to left. On the run is Ward. If it is fair, it is gone, and it is a home run.
April was undoubtedly the month that put him on the map.
Brent Rooker right on cue. And the A's walk off the Royals 6-4.
If we look at Rooker's stats from the 8th to the 30th of April, he led MLB in virtually every single important statistic. From offense runs above average, OPS, and on-base percentage, his numbers were unbelievable for a player who had been released the year prior. The A's hitting coach at the time, Tommy Everidge, even said, quote, "You talk about these guys who are able to sometimes carry teams. He puts us on his back. It showed the tremendous potential that there is and is going to continue to come out. He can take over a game." And, in fact, he hit 9 home runs through the month of April, which was nearly a franchise record for the A's. If he had just hit 2 more, he would have tied Mark McGwire, a known steroid home run hitter. Through May 17th, Rooker remained dominant with an OPS still over 1,000.
Deb on it, absolutely crushed by Brent Rooker.
After that month, Rooker said, "In a vacuum, the numbers themselves are more than I ever thought I could do. That's not taking away the confidence I have. That kind of production for a month's worth of games is probably past even my expectations." And he's someone who has had big dreams in his career and in his life. He also said, "I've had plenty of self-doubt throughout my career. At the same time, I've always believed that I can come to this level and be a guy who can stay for a long time to achieve something I never considered possible. It's a cool feeling." The only upsetting part about his achievements was the team he was doing this on, the Athletics. A team that lost 112 games, had an owner pushing them to move out of their hometown Oakland, and had almost no talent. The only exciting players on the team were the young guys like Rooker, Geloff, and Ruiz. Rooker finished 2023 as one of the better righty bats in baseball, yet he still had much to prove.
To the track, at the wall! Brent Rooker. This guy's hitting bombs, and the hot swings continue for Brent.
2024 turned him into something bigger than a one-hit wonder, and Rooker explained what it took to make that jump in 1 year.
Obviously, last year in 2023, hit 30 homers, made the All-Star game. After what seemed like 4 or 5 years of trying to establish myself in the big leagues, trying to figure out how to make that jump from AAA to the highest level, was able to do that and kind of establish myself as a guy who could be there and produce. And then
he was now a true superstar that everybody wanted. In late July, just a few days before the trade deadline, Rooker hit for .291, 23 homers, and had one of the highest values for any righty bats available. Whether it was the Pirates, Red Sox, or even the Yankees, Rooker was drawing trade interest all around. However, despite the A's 45-65 losing record, Jon Heyman reported that the A's were reluctant to trade away Rooker. So he stayed with them, and he was thrilled to be there. He finished 2024 ranking in number 5 for homers, was the 8th best in OPS, and 11th in batting average. After their season ended, and what of course was another disappointment, teams across the league were still chasing Rooker. And it is clear the final step to his success will come in the form of winning, whether it's with the A's or not. but the A's GM says that they plan to keep Brent Rooker instead of trading him, meaning in order to start winning, he's gonna have to continue defying the odds. And let me be clear, he isn't the only player to succeed regardless of adversity. In fact, there's one player who has relied off of only one singular skill to succeed because he can't run, steal bases, or even play defense. To learn more about that story, click the video on your screen now.